Yeah, very good morning, students. So I'm glad to meet you all online for the second session, Project Closure Ethics and Digital Management. So in the previous session, we had a brief introduction on how product development and project development happens together and what is the cluster in between these two entire areas. In this particular session, we are going to brief the concept behind who are all the contributors and who are all the factors dependent towards process groups. So in this particular activity, we are going to have polls in between as we had in the previous session. So this particular concept covers the areas of process groups and the various phases in which the product is getting uplifted and as well as downfalling, and who are all the real influences. So we are going to cover three areas majorly, that is implementers, influencers and initiators. The one who is starting the activity is nothing but the initiator, and one who is going to continue the progress and monitor the evaluation sheet throughout the project is going to be the implementers, and one who is going to be the reason for existence and consistency is what? Influences. So today in this particular 1 hour of session, we are going to discuss on these three categories as a whole. So getting into the topic, so the process groups of a project involves five basic area. As I told, initiating, planning, execution, monitoring and controlling, and closing. In each and every phase, we have around a task which is a centrifugal task. So all the initiators in this particular five teams will segregate themselves, allocate their works, report to their supervisors, and make sure the project is not about to get closed. So once the process or the project is getting closed, the thing is the consistency and the supply, what we give it as a chaining or as a integrated work or integrated contribution is getting down. So on the whole, in all these five departments, the purpose of making all the activities is to understand the reason and the existence and moreover the consistency for making the project in live condition. Unless and until if the project is in live condition, we can ensure all the people who are all contributors, who are all influencers, who are all initiators, who are all implementers can make their contribution to the fullest contribution and enrich their skills through their project and make the project in live condition. So, in this particular five phases of understanding, our motto, our aim is to ensure that we follow some code of conducts, we follow some code of ethics, we are into the technological environment, blend of both physical and technical backgrounds, and then we are going to freeze the environment as project continuation, not as a project closure. So there are some reasons which might be making the project to get into close condition because of lack of monitoring, because of lack of monetary benefits, or the lack of financial support, or lack of technical support and background. So there might be some reasons which will be the decide makers of those closure of the projects. But on the whole, when I try to understand these five modules as separate contributors for project elimination or project continuation, I need to be strong enough in whatever the checklist I'm going to get on these five headers. Suppose, for example, let us assume around five members of our team are involved in this five categories. Each and every member will be getting a checklist at the day end. So today, what has been contributed for this particular planning phase, for this particular execution phase, for this monitoring. So while submitting the checklist at the end of the day, so if I do it regularly for a month, so they will analyze the previous day's works and present day's works, and they will understand the scope of the project in the upcoming weeks and upcoming fortnights. So every fortnight they'll be having a meeting. They'll be consolidating the 15 days contribution towards the analysis of the checklist given in the five headers, and then they will escalate the problem to the higher authority. This is what they do in the corporates. But as a scholar or as a student, how we need to understand this in terms of every individual header is under a checklist. So those checklist has to be collected in person, approached with the proper strategy, authenticated, and then it has to be passed to the next board. Once it is cleared in the next board, it will be moving on to the next board simultaneously without any hindrances. This is what happens in these five phases. Getting into the next slide. So this is what the today's agenda is going to be: monitoring and controlling process. The problem is we will be enabling the planning phase, we'll be enabling the execution phase, we'll be making the proper initiation. So these things and all will be done, I mean, without any hindrances or without any third party influence. But when it comes to monitoring and evaluation, we need a third sourcer, outsourcer. That outsourcer may be a direct outsourcer or an indirect outsourcer or a planned outsourcer or anyone who is a stranger to us. If I go for these kind of auditing or these kind of inspection or these kind of mentoring, I'll be making the project further more strengthened. The process becomes the practice becomes the purpose is for the people. So we are discussing about three things here: process, purpose, and people. When a project is ideologized or finalized, the first thing I need to focus is purpose. For what purpose I'm going to initiate this project, and what is the process involved in the product or the project, and then who are all the beneficiaries, that is people. So the triple P concept is discussed here, that is I'm coming again: people, process, and purpose. So now, as we do regularly, I'm going for a poll. So in this people, process, and purpose, which comes first and which comes second and which comes third? I need the priority. So priority of the project rely on. So the priority of any project rely on what are all the characteristics, that is process, purpose, and the next one will be on people. So I'm just posting this particular poll in the chat. I need you people to submit your priorities. So once after the submission, it will be discussed further. So as of now, no responses. Process, purpose, and people. I need all the attendees to fill in the poll. So these polls are mainly to ensure what kind of initiation we need to focus on with respect to each and every activity. So how many people are going to contribute? As of now, it is showing me zero responses. Could anyone give it to me? Yes. Could you please make the polls? One response, process. What about the other guys? Purpose. Ensure that everyone is submitting. Hope so. Around 9 candidates are there. Hope so. Everyone submits the poll. Then we can discuss further. Three responses, two purposes, and one process. What about the other guys? Please ensure your response. Fine. So, as of this discussion is concerned, people, process, and purpose, the first priority goes to the purpose. Unless the purpose is unaware, we cannot execute the process and we cannot identify the beneficiaries. So, my priority goes to purpose first, then the process, and then the people. So, rather than if I do it in reverse, it will be a time consuming process. It will be a lack of monitoring process. I cannot monitor who are all the beneficiaries. I cannot control the crowd. I cannot assure who are all the exact beneficiaries, direct beneficiaries. So those direct beneficiaries are unaware, then obviously my project will be closed in a similar point of time, which will be so very meager. Majority of project closures are happening because of lack of this purpose. Once if you are not aware about the lack of this process and purpose and people, the prioritization is not done. The priority matrix has to be framed before starting any of the projects what you are involved in. So unless and otherwise, if we are not doing these three prioritization, project will be closed, which could be forecasted easily. This is what the flowchart is telling: initiating, process, executing, closing. Because of closing, the prioritization is lagging. Then only the closing of project will be happen soon. This is what the flowchart is. Coming to the next most important categorization of a project or a phase. So rather than focusing as a whole project, I can dissect into different phases. My first phase will be on process group. So in this process group, the purpose-oriented people will be working on the mentoring people who are all creators of the purposes. Suppose if the purpose is not available in the market, I might have a innovative idea. In by throwing that innovative idea into the market, I can create a purpose. By creating a purpose, I can go for a process and I can go for the analysis of my beneficiaries. So I can do it as a innovative way of approaching the project with a new kind of proper process and purpose creation. This might also happen unless if the purpose is not already existing. My next phase is going to be how these kind of activities, the deviation right from the x-axis, that is time consuming, and in the y-axis we are taking process interaction. So if I do this triple P analysis and then I can go for approaches, the one which is in the dark line, that is planning process group, will be happening. It will not be happening, approachable end, and I cannot see any undeviated elements happening in my project. If I don't do this triple P analysis and if I get to project, obviously my execution phase, my monitoring phase, my closing phase will sooner the happening. This is what initiation phase and the process group closing phase. Those dotted lines represents lack of triple P analysis. If I do this triple P analysis regularly, I assure all the beneficiaries will get the appropriate benefits from the project development, which in case gives a chance for a product development, patent, copyrights, IPR, it goes on. Unless and otherwise, if I know don't do this regularly, this is kind of review. It is a kind of taking antibiotic for our body. As I take antibiotic every month, it will prevent me from getting off any kind of diseases which is highly infectious. That is what the project is also. A project has to be injected with the antibiotic called triple P. In that triple P will act as an antibiotic and it will not make sure that it is against from lot kind of industrial sickness or kind of industrial disease. What we have like a cost cutting, manpower cutting, that is lack of demand cutting. Because of these mishappenings, a project is getting into closure. If I would forecast this earlier, I may not have a sorry figure or a sorry face for my beneficiaries, and that will not happen to me again. So because of the lack of triple P, these things we are facing in the regular bodies. So coming to the next slide. So where and all it is getting applicated, or where all the cases we are real time cases we are facing this issue. The project life cycle starting from initiation till its closure, it faces lot of problems. So what are all the areas we could brush it up in order to ensure the project could be divided into phases? The main reasons is to make the project manageable. If I would have around 10 people, two people focusing on each phases, as I introduced in the first slide, that is five phases of a project. If two people are supervising each and every phase, obviously there might be a understanding and consolidation. And that consolidation will give us a clarity that the project will continue. If one and only as like a kind of a monopoly, if I sell it as a single one, I may not get an opinion. As like a real time show, as we all see, major real time shows have odd number of judges. Why? Because to get a major opinion, if I have even number of judges, I may get an opinion which is biased. If I have four people, I'll be getting two equally, then they'll be getting a bias. If I have two people in my team, the two opinions will be escalated to the topmost authority, and whichever is chosen, it will be considered. So obviously, either the judges must be either 3, 5, 7, 9, so that to decide it on a major scale rather than going into minor scale. So my project has to be focused only on a major scale because majorly it is acceptable or majorly it is rejectable. Then I can go for a decision which could save my time, cost, people, process, ideology, innovation, everything. So it has to be forecasted. So for forecasting, I need to dissect the project into different phases. so that only it could be a manageable one. Coming to the next problem, that is working out the different perspective to separate the work of a different nature. I might be strong in marketing and you might be strong in human resource and someone in the team might be strong in operations. So divide the entire work into five special area and make everyone to work on their expertise area, that is SME, what we'll call subject matter expert, SME. This is what the second point is focusing on, that is separate expertise nature. Coming to the third point, prediction. So I should know to predict the environment, whether it is okay for a product to survive in the market by facing all the competition, because some huge stranger has to pitch into the market which will dissolve the existing product. Then obviously lack of prediction will ensure the project closure soon. I could have estimated the project timing will be till 2030. A project might be getting closed in the mid of 2027 because of lack of prediction, because of lack of proper techniques what I use for prediction. As like we use a straight line equation, y is equal to mx plus c, y will be a factor, x will be a factor, m will be a constant element, and c will be the variable which is going to connect with the project. So when I calculate y is equal to mx plus c, c has to be unknown. If C is unknown, obviously project will be more expectable and predictable. If the C is known, Y is known, M is known, X is known, everything is known, and I'll be getting an opinion which is substantiated and which will create a bias. And every factor in a particular equation is known, obviously LHS will be equal to RHS, and that could not be predicted. So obviously I'll be focusing on the checkpoints then. What are all the check levels I have? How many checkpoints I have, how many levels of updations I have. After making this clear, I'll be getting into the project. If I am getting appointed as a project lead, I will be in a situation to ensure all the people who are all assuring this particular theme will be entering to the project. So for which I need to focus on the next opinion on a larger project, then the volume of the project coming in. If the project volume is huge, I'll be getting these kind of nodal areas. This is a kind of operative elements. The figure what you see it in sharing is nothing but operative elements. What we call it as earlier starting time and the least closing time. We should be aware of every project that earlier starting time of a project must be noted. Say it kind of a zero. The least completion time among five competitors, one who is completing the last one, as like a running in a slow race. So for a larger project, we have a breathing time, we have a relaxation time, we have a interaction time. This is how a project management indication will interact with the peer group members. The peer groups include feasibility check, design check. Planning will be predominantly available everywhere throughout the entire concept. So planning is going to be a generalistic one. So feasibility is possibility, as we call it as the who are all the probable areas and what are all the probable entities I can ensure. And design. A design check must be ensured before getting into any product finalization. If I would ensure the design product finalization, I might get an opportunity to ensure all the developmental procedures and as well as the launch or the release of the product in the nearby future. So, as the indication is clearly representing, as I told, M and C. That is, M is the factor and C is the variable which is going to contribute on a particular proportionate way. So, this could be in a uniform scaling, as everyone knows, all the headers are in the same kind of uniformity. Whereas with respect to the other categories, we might get a lack of uniformity or lack of non-consistency or lack of controlling or lack of evaluation. These lagging areas have to be identified and that could be practiced in a smaller projects. This is why major project managers are taking up smaller projects on a single time, practicing it, understanding the process, purpose, and the beneficiary people, and then they are moving to the larger projects. If I straight away go to the larger projects, everything will be uniform. If everything is uniform, obviously I could not take away. The ultimate takeaway from my project will not be sufficient enough for me to understand the project. There will be a lack of prediction. If everything is uniform, I could not predict the downfall. If everything is going in a regular way, I could not know the reason for failure. Obviously, the project will dilute sooner. So the prediction problem starts here because there is a uniformity. Unless and otherwise, if there is a non-uniformity, you might know because of this phase the project is continuing. If everyone is contributing the same factor, obviously the volume of the project will shrink. The project volume shrink, and obviously the people will shrink, and the customers will shrink, and obviously the entire thought process will vanish away. So there are enormous kind of examples. Those kind of examples can be quoted across any field. Taking for example automobile field, we have enormous number of brands and products, but there is a distinction from each and every category. So for example, if I take a vehicle called Alto, Maruti Alto, I have a LX or VXI or VXI Plus, which is manual transmission, which is auto gear system. So among these three variants, I may have a process, I may have a process, I may have a purpose, I may have a people of beneficiaries. So I could not say that all the people who are all the customers of Maruti Alto will have the option of top variant, that is VXI Plus. There might be people getting LX, or there might be people getting VXI, or there might be people getting going for a higher affordability. So the affordability is going to check the demand for this particular production year. In the upcoming production year, I'm going to plan accordingly to stop the least variant because no one is preferring it. So the preferential prediction has been done. So I'm stopping the least variant. I'm making the three variants as two variant. And slowly the two variants becomes a one variant, and one variant becomes a uniform variant for the entire automobile. And in the nearby future, slowly the production of the entire vehicle will be stopped and it will not be furthermore manufactured as like Maruti Omni or as like A Star or as like 800, Alto 800. So there might be some assumption stating that these products are not feasible to the design or not feasible to the people, process, purpose. So these kind of lacking decides the project to get closed immediately because these kind of automobiles could not be mobilized frequently, could not be mobilized for a longer distance. So people preferences changes. So we are seeking some comfortability. We are going for an Nexa rather than Arena models, Maruti Arena. So Maruti Arena covers some basic variants which are all economical. If I go to Nexa, it will be some like kind of a super economical. So I'll be going to a superlative stage where I can afford for more than a 10 lakh vehicle, 10 lakh rupees of vehicle. I can seek an comfortability. And obviously the project of Arena is diminishing compared with Nexa. This is what the figure tells us. Since this is a situation of Maruti Suzuki Arena, the Arena covers the vehicle of all the categories like so. I mean Maruti Suzuki Swift, Alto, that is Celerio. These kind of Wagoner, these kind of vehicles are available in the showroom, which is segregated. Whereas the higher order vehicles are segregated with respect to the term of Nexa. So when I take Nexa, slowly Nexa is occupying the space of Arena, and in nearby future, I hope so in 2040, the name called Arena will be vanishing. And I'll be prioritizing the vehicle. The entire tag base price of the vehicle starts from 10 lakhs. Now, in this particular point of time, I'm getting a vehicle. The least most cost of the vehicle will be around 4.5 lakhs to 6 lakhs. By after 5 or 7 years, I might be getting a vehicle which is of the basic cost of 10 lakhs. So by that point of time, design, feasibility, the feasibility will shrink. The economical middle class family will not even thought a process of buying a vehicle. So for making this happening of activity, Tata has introduced a nano and slowly it got diminished. Again, it is coming back to the market in the nearby future with a kind of electrical EV vehicle, electrical vehicle. So by defeating each and everyone's contribution, stating that our Indian products, compared with the foreign collaborated products, our Indian products are prioritizing triple P and ensuring the launch of a product by consolidating the phases of a project, and they are giving it as a economically acceptable product. And people from any class, that is either low class or middle class or top class, can get into this particular purchase of a four wheeler without any further more issues. So the reliability is also coming here. So coming to the next problem, that is a large agile projects. So the term agile here represents as the contribution which is sequential, which is beneficiary has to be inspected in a level by level process, rather than if I go for a mass production. Rather than going for a mass production, I can go for a mass production depending upon the requirement, depending upon a feasibility. There it comes as a developmental phase and it will be developed on a particular variant alone. As I told, VXI plus, the developmental phase will be VXI plus. So I can manufacture 200 or 300 vehicles in the same variant rather than manufacturing LX or VX. So all the vehicles are predominantly with the power steering. All the vehicles are predominantly with the two airbags, which are all mandatory. But why it is getting differentiated? What kind of discrimination we are going to give for the top variant, the middle variant, and the lower variant? So the release of a product which is highly developed, highly scrutinized, or highly marketed will be produced on a large scale. And those large scale production will give you a clarity on how it is prioritizing on development. This is what purpose development rather than process development. Why? Because process is going to be like a charge sheet given to you. You're going to just follow it manually. That's it. Whereas a purpose has to be identified and it has to be authenticated for sure. If it is not authenticated for a sure condition, you might not fulfill your beneficiaries. You might not fulfill your process. You might not fulfill your upcoming contributions and demand. That is why the purpose has been prioritized as the top notch of this project management. If it is managed well with the process groups, with the proper evidences, with the proper observations and techniques, surely it will withstand in the market without any second opinion. So, coming to the next point. So, in this point of manageable elements, so when I focus on a project which is to be managed, what are all the things I need to focus on? That is how the delivery could be made tangible, that is quantifiable. So if it is non-quantifiable, if it is getting beyond my limitation, my boundary, I might not find a feasible surrounding in order to ensure the project is fulfilled without any furthermore stimulation, without any furthermore activity control, without any furthermore monitoring. So the monitoring becomes easy if you make it as a tangible one, that is countable one or quantifiable one. If you are giving a target which is non-tangible or intangible or non-quantifiable, it becomes a task which is huge and which could not be monitored. So the single focus will not be there. The single opinion could not be there. And obviously, I'll be getting a mass production. Obviously, there may not be any reaching factor. I'll give you an example. If there is a session handled by the teaching faculty for a particular group of around 100 individuals, there might not be confidence elements that the last row guys will be having a clear cut understanding of what a teacher is portraying. So that's why we fix a ratio. AICTE, UGC, and all the university norms tell us that for every 15 students, one faculty to be recruited. That is what project. For a teaching has been considered as a project, for that particular project, we are segregating individuals based on the faculty student ratio. For every 15 students, we might have a faculty. So if I take the overall population of the institution, I must divide it by 15 and that many number of faculties to be available as per the auditing team. If there is a shortage, it is condemnable, it is a punishable one. So it is becoming very clear since I give it in tangible count. So 1 is to 15 is a tangible one, so that I can monitor 15 students in my particular power of control. If it is going beyond 15, I might go for a new faculty recruitment. So if there are around 1,500 people, I need to know, ensure that 100 faculty must be present. The overall population of my undergraduation should be 1,500. Then I need to have 100 faculty across all the disciplines, so that to make the entire crowd fulfilling their project without any indifferences. That is what the entire agenda is. To make it as a separate work of a different nature. Collaboration. So the entire problem here, what we discuss is collaboration. So rather than making it as a single combo, why we can't make a clear cut understanding? I'll give you an example. Recently, Swayam, MOOC, NPTEL, AICTE has given a statement. If a guy is completing 7 NPTEL courses under a category, under a common discipline with more than 60 percentage, he or she is eligible to handle the domain as a full-time teaching faculty. So AICT, that is All India Council for Technical Education, University Grants Commission, and NPTEL, SWAYAM, everyone have consolidatedly taken a decision called a guy working in MBA department is completing 7 courses under computer science department. The guy is eligible for handling classes for computer science students, core papers as a full-time teaching faculty. So obviously, AICT is creating a work security for majority of teachers. If a teacher is clever enough and convincing all the departments, suppose in my college, if I have around 7 departments, if I complete 49 courses across all the disciplines, I will be a full time faculty till my last breath of my life. So, this is going to be the highly secured way of making a project non closurable. If my MBA or if my mechanical, if my civil is getting closed, I might migrate to the next department. So I make my situation or my job as a secured one. I'm not focusing on the other guy's issue. I'll be making a sure shot security for my position. This will be again a contributor elements for majority of elements, and this is coming with effect from 2024-25 academic year, who are all working as a full-time faculty in majority of institution or getting this jackpot from this academic year. And if they are completing, they are considered as a full-time teaching faculty. It is termed as Quality Improvement Program designated by AICTE, that is All India Council for Technical Education. Please surf it and please be aware about who are all the contributors, who are all the influencers on this. If you, any of this particular attendees are interested in a teaching learning process, they might get this opportunity benefited, which is the cost of around 49 courses will be around 49,000 rupees. The course is around 1,000 rupees. So by investing 49,000 rupees as for my learning process, I am securing my job. I'm making the job more secure. This is what AICT is inferring us. Coming to the next point, there is a project has to be predictable, controlling the process, completing the differences, ensuring the differences, and making all the differences consolidatedly into an activity. So here, the word called deliverables has to be highlighted. All the deliverables to be unknown or to be known. Those unknown deliverables should be made known to all the end users and all the contributors. If I'm a contributor, I should make you aware that these are all the things to be delivered to you in a particular period of time. I should give you a tracking consignment number. As we go for India Post, there is a consignment number. ET, say for example, 10-digit number followed by IN, India Post. So India Post is doing a project. They are making a consignment which is to be traveled from, Chennai to Delhi. There might be a chance of migrating it from various modes of transportation, and it is reaching Delhi by the day after tomorrow. So from where it is being booked and where it is getting delivered and who is taking the post to the particular individual, those addressee number, name, tracking status, everything has been noted down with proper time and the delivery person. Here it is highly highlighted that we should have the same tracking system in for all the projects. There must be a transparency. Without transparency, if I do it as something which is a highly hideable one, I could not go for any progress. If there is a transparency, obviously the project will be a progressive one. The progress will give you a purpose. The purpose will give you a process, and the process will very surely benefit the people. This is what the chain. If the chain is not followed, obviously the transparency is not there. Everything will get affected. Everyone, there must be a transparency of all the policies. Whatever the policies we have in our institution, it must be a transparent one. There must not be any partiality or discrimination in making a project deliverable. Coming to the factor next again, checkpoints. So here we are going to give you a list of checklist. So those checklists will be like cracking the first level and going for a next level. It is like a game, playing a game, online game. So For each and every check level, I'll be getting some points. So that points will be a booster factor, and that booster factor will enable me to go to the next level and fulfill the next booster points. Say for example, in each and every checkpoints, I'll be getting 200 booster points. There are around 5 checkpoints. I'll be getting 1,000 booster points. By having 1,000 booster points, in what is the duration of acquiring that 1,000 booster points have to be noted. That is what least completion time is all about. Among 10 members, one who is taking around 45 minutes to complete those 1,000 points acquirement will be considered as a least completion time and earliest starting time. So those have to be noted. Among the 10 people, the 10th one who is taking the 45 minutes and the first one who is taking around 25 minutes, the time duration between the 25 and 45 has to be noted. The 30 minutes or 20 minutes of difference between the first fellow and the 10th fellow have to be noted. So in that point of time, the first fellow will be given more number of priority, whichever has been considered as a topmost area. Whereas the 10th fellow will be given a training in order to make himself or herself to be in the topmost position. This is what a project is. And there is nothing called right, wrong in a project. You can contribute, I can contribute, a third party can contribute, everyone can justify their contribution. And no one is here to make sure that project is getting into a failure. Even for failure, I must have a justification. Why it is getting failed? If there is no justification, then it is a problem. I must have file proof. There should be a transparency. Again, I'm telling on insisting on transparency because if there is no transparency, a project closure could not be could not be justified and reasonable. Why it is getting closed? I must have a justification with me. Then only I can go for a next trial. I can go for a next reliable procedure. I can apply for the next project ship. Otherwise, the next priority will not be given to me because there is a lack of proof, there is lack of supporting documents. Coming to the generic phases. So these are all the generic phases. Here we are neglecting planning phase. We are making a carrying out phase. Here the process of the graph is typically shown here. So once the project has been started with respect to the resources and as well as time, everywhere, whatever the graphical representations we do in all the 5 units of project closure, the x-axis category will be on time. Why? Because for a project, time is vital factor. And we should justify why it is still existing. And we should justify why it is not in live condition, why it is inactive. For both activeness and inactiveness, I need to justify the reason for project existence. So here it is represented with respect to time and the resource level. So when I consider the resource level, I need not plan. Why? Because the resources are already existing. I should just make sure that carrying out the task and making the task as the time oriented task, and the time oriented task is converted to a project finalization. If the time oriented task is converted to the project finalization, it becomes acceptable delivery. If the acceptable delivery is only within the time, as we order food through Swiggy or Zomato, we are sticking on with time. We are not giving a proper rating. We are not giving any tip. We are not giving any deliverable, star ratings. So when I go for ratings and when I go for, giving a tip or going for any furthermore orders, if I give a negative feedback towards a particular person who is carrying the food for me right from 20 to 25 kilometer distance, nearly takes around 45 to 1 hour. So the 45 minutes to 1 hour will be the maximum time duration, and he might be processing it with a particular categorization of 30 to 35 minutes. But when it is not able to convince the promise what he or she makes, obviously the project is getting closed. He or she gets a feedback which is highly impacted. So that feedback will get the project to nullify the scenario. Slowly, the options are getting reduced. If I would order a food which is available in Adayar and sitting in Tambaram and making the order through a particular channel, and it takes nearly 1 hour, the entire process is getting failed because of non-availability of the product. I may get the same product nearby my locality. The thing is, the project closure is happening because of non awareness of availability of the product, which is because of a project. This is the reason it is getting closed, it is getting carried out, and it is getting nullified because of the lackness of awareness of a product availability. Suppose if I'm filtering the search, as we do, nearby my locality or nearby my particular process, what are all the available products. If it is not shown online, what are all the alternatives I can aim for. So the things which are all available in my Bluetooth area and the things which are all available in my Wi-Fi area has to be known. Rather than going beyond the bandwidth and checking beyond my Wi-Fi area is a waste of time in making the project getting closed. This is what the learnings we should get with an objective that the availability which is nearby my Bluetooth and Wi-Fi area is acceptable. And going beyond that area is non relevant to me. Even if it is delicious or even if it is most desirable one, please choose on with the nearby locality or a Bluetooth or a Wi-Fi area in order to make the project existent. This is what here clearly represented. The peak point of carrying out the task is the third phase in this graph, clearly representing that the project has to be identified and it has to be commonly allegated to the level of existence without any existence issues. Once after the issue is vulnerable, highly costable or highly vulnerable, the task is getting deviated. As we order any kind of even food or Ola, taxi, everywhere there is a project is carrying on. We are getting a GPRS tracking, and slowly when it is coming nearby, I'm just cancelling the entire ride. So when I cancel the ride, it affects the one who is taking up the ride. If the cancellation is done on the both the ends, obviously the project is getting closed. If I give a consecutive three or a three cancellation, the next booking will not be enabled to me. As a customer, I'm facing this issue. If I'm going for three continuous cancellation of Ola or Uber, the fourth booking will take some time and finally it will not be accepted by the driver or the rider who is taking up my pickup order. And that might be the reason for continuous cancellation. So without getting an awareness, if I cancel it for consecutive times, it might be the reason for the next awareness of getting cancellation. That is what the graph is going to tell us. So when you are writing this particular exam point of view, when you are writing this particular concept, give an example which is trackable. As I told, Zomato, Uber, these kind of trackable elements which are all focusing on a project. So that project has to be ensured with proper monitoring. Without a proper monitoring, I cannot show that the project is elevated to the next level. Getting to the next point. So this is purely on change management and technology management. So when I'm considering technology management, a risk and uncertainty. So as we go for technological factors, there is a kind of risk and there is a kind of uncertainty. Paying through a channel, paying through a proper gateway, payment gateway. Say for example, Paytm, Google Pay, Phone Pay. Everywhere there is a typical set of project guidelines, risk factors. And as everyone tells it, taxes applicable or all commercial taxes applicable, it is under approval. So there might be a disclaimer stating in the shaded statement at the end of the particular policy statement, which is not even shown clearly, all conditions apply, terms and conditions apply. It is a kind of risk and uncertainty. I cannot know what will happen to me if I go totally into technology. So for which I need to have a hybrid mode. I should be aware of both physical and technical backgrounds area of work. And with respect to cost of changes, obviously, change management is not only in costing, it is also in team collaboration. It is also in traditional physical branding and as well as, the blended activity, hybrid activity. Everywhere, the project is getting acceptable or rejectable opinions because of cost changes. As I told, everyone in this particular project is not, a confidential judgment that everyone should accept this. There is no rule called everyone must accept my deal. There might be some deal cancellation. There might be some lack of closure projects, which will also be the reason for project nullification. Ultimately, the project is getting nullified because of these kind of risk, uncertainty, and with respect to the time again. If there is a lack of trade, I'll give you an example. If I go for an ATM, debit around 20,000 rupees, while the amount is getting counted, if it is about to get debited, the power is getting shut down. So my amount got debited, but I could not receive the cash in my ATM. So If this particular issue happens, obviously, till the power comes, the customer will be standing in the ATM. Once after the power comes, it will not, a receivable one. The delivery will not be done. For the undelivered amount, my account balance is getting reduced. For this, I'm going to register a ticket into my portal, banking portal, stating that I have got debited amount of rupees 20,000 on so and so date in so and so ATM, but I could not receive the amount. So the amount has to be refunded to my account. If this particular ticket is considered, it will be in the factor of risk and uncertainty. So that is going to be the degree of delivery. Whereas the project time for refunding my amount, which is I undoubtedly delivered, it will take nearly 1 week. So in that particular 1 week, the entire scenario of my or else a customer mindset will be uncertain, risk, may or may not. Till then, I getting a refund. I cannot assure you the concern stating that the entire grievances redressal mechanism what we follow in all the banking sector, Canara Bank, State Bank of India, all nationalized and private banks, we have a portal called grievance redressal mechanism. In grievance redressal mechanism, we have a ticket, and that ticket has to be stated that for all tracking your entire status of all your grievances. This is what a project is also doing. So here you could quote the example of banking sector. So everywhere you must know all the applications, and application has to be filled in all your examination point of view. For applications, you have 4 marks nearly. If there is going to be a 13-mark question, for 4 marks to 5 marks will be allocated for applications. You must give the application in a statement, not like in a phrases. Applications have to be more and more prioritized. Getting into the next slide. So who are all the beneficiaries? As I told, we are all talking about the beneficiaries till date. So who are all the beneficiaries? So understanding the required resource. Who is going to be the required ideologist or create a strategist or an executor one or a captain or a propagator. So we have scope, SCOPE, strategist, captaining, O for organizing, P for propagation, and E for execution. So everyone says that we have a scope for MBA, we have a scope for BE, we have a scope for ME, we have a scope for PhD. What does that scope is? So I'm repeating scope. If anyone is noting down, kindly note it off. S for strategy and C for captaining, that is leading, captainship. O for organizer, one who is going to organize the event. And P for propagation. I'm propagating this to my team. And the last one, E is for execution. So the last fellow will be getting the instruction from the first four fellows, and the last fellow will be consolidating the work of all the four fellows. And obviously, executors want to go with a lot of challenges, and those kind of challenges will be with respect to ability to plan, continuity of viability, sufficient attention. I'm seeking an attention. Why? Because I'm a startup. If I'm going to be a startup, I will advertise more. I will promote my business plan more. I will be more projecting to the open environment. I'll be into a planning phase, and obviously, I'll be directly connecting with my known source of networks. Only then the progress could be identified. If not, a progress could not be identified, and the progress, if it is not identified, I cannot go for triple P. Triple P analysis is zero. So, for each and every project, progress has to be noted down. So, again, there is the concept of RACI model, that is responsibility, accountability, and consultancy and information. So, for all the projects, you should focus on these four pillars. Who is going to take up the responsibility? Who is going to take up the accountability? So, responsibility is different from accountability. If I'm going to be a responsible project manager, I can give the reasons and I can close the meeting soon. If I'm going to take up the accountability, if there is any failure, if there is any loss, I'm going to bear the loss financially. So for responsibility, there is no monetary backup. Whereas accountability, there is a monetary benefit. There is a monetary, both credit and debit. If you are accountable in a positive manner, you'll be getting credits also. At the same time, if you are accountable in the negative manner, and you will be focusing on a loss, and you will be judging the loss, and you will be fulfilling the loss out of your own pocket. And obviously, consulting. I'll be having a consultant with me for all my inspection. I'll be calling him, sitting with a one-to-one, and making the consultancy strong enough how to go for this inspection. So everywhere we in inspection we term the term called NCR, non-conformance report. For ISO people, ISO auditing, we make this NCR, non-conformance report. CONFORMANCE, conformance. Why we make this? Without any particular accountability and without any particular consultancy, if I do any activity, it should not be fulfilling the quality of the standard. If the quality of the standard is poor, obviously I'll be getting NCs more, in more number of NCR. If there are more number of NCR, obviously I'll be stopped from my auditing. I'll be inspecting with the revised date of inspection. So I'll be coming with the regaining of my resources. Again, I'll be submitting the records for inspection. So major auditors believe on least number of NCRs and obviously informed. I should know what is the right information. I should make aware about all the peer members in my team to get informed, to keep me informed and as well as to inform. Both should be done parallelly. And coming to the next phase, that is high level. So organization creation to a high level is because of necessity, understanding the necessity and utilizing the thing what we focus on industry. So for each and every stage, we should take the ownership. Just because saying that if there is a politics between a senior person and a junior person in a project, it does not going to fulfill the solution to the project. A junior fellow taking up all the activity and giving up individual attention towards a project is not at all a wrong thing. It is acceptable. Apart from politics, apart from department politics, apart from socially acceptable politics, it is not at all a wrong because a contributor can contribute from any side, irrespective of age, irrespective of experience, irrespective of qualification. Even a peon can also give an opinion towards my project. It is acceptable. I should not say he is just a peon. He is just a office boy. How could he say an opinion to my project on what capability or caliber he is going to say an opinion? It is not at all a right way of approaching a project. One who is observing the project can have all rights to give an opinion on a project. That is what this slide is going to give you by indicating the reviews taking up on each phase of a project. How many reviews we are going to consider? How many reviews we had? And out of those reviews, what are all the takeaways? What are all the accountables? On what are all the changes? And what are all the factors which are all newly included? And what are all the existing factors has been excluded? So excluded things and included things has to be noted down in this space. So that has to be indicated. Again, we are coming to a splitting up phase, and the last two slides are going to give you a sufficient resources. So before getting any level of fulfillment or a satisfaction, the resources has to be clearly understood from a layman point of view. So that's what I told. Even a peon or office boy can give an opinion. Layman point of view has to be understood. Then only the review could be analyzed with the supervisorship. If I think myself as a supervisor, if I think I'm a one and only supervisor and a boss, if I approach a project, it will be a nullified one. I should not do this. I should think from various perspectives, which are all highly promotable, highly acceptable, and highly knowledgeable to make the project get into a each level of payment gateways. And finally, every opportunity must be linked with the progress, and everyone must be online digitally aware about what is my contribution. No one can fake me, or no one can fool me. A project has to be made transparent. That's what I told, transparency. If it is going to be transparent, I can easily identify one who is a contributor, one who is a cheater. If it is going to be an app, how many visitors, how many page visitors today, how many number of times I have visited, it will be noted down. If it is going to be a cloud sheet, Google Sheet or a Google slide or a Google Docs, if I'm sharing to my students, how many times the students are visiting, it will be noted. It will be intimated to me. The access requesting will be intimated to my mail so that I can give their access and I can note them how many times they are accessing the sheet. It will be the activity control. This is the right way of monitoring the project rather than asking them in person and conducting meetings daily and wasting the times. That is, productive times are getting wasted by conducting meetings. By giving just 3 slides, conducting a meeting for 1 hour, having a particular discussion in a dark room, and making the project nullified is purely a waste of time rather than making the work through cloud. Cloud computing is what today's trend, and that is what progress linkages. So all these process linkages, process, purpose, people, who are all the influencers, who are all the contributors, everyone must be aware that who are all the resources allocators and who are all the resources delivery people, and everyone must be aware about this process clearly. If it is going to be done in a regular scale, there need not be any doubt on facing any auditing, any kind of inspection, any kind of problems. This is what the thing of discussion or the agenda for today's discussion. So with this, I'll close. So in the previous session and the present session, we had a discussion on project development life cycle and process group approaches and applications of project life cycles. So these were the areas brushed up in the previous session and the present session. So in this particular present session, if you have any clarity or any query or any lack of opinion, you can come up. The last 5 minutes is for you, and you can come up. And meanwhile, you need to have a understanding and the snaps. What I had with the flowcharts has been extracted from your books, that which is digitally available in the recorded material, which is available in the folder. And everyone is aware. Hope so. Everyone is aware about the lesson plan also. So in all the lesson plans, it has been indicated with proper time and the topic of discussion. It has been shared as an Excel sheet in your group, and as well, it has been uploaded in the meetings channels also, teams also. So you have a look on it, and please be aware before coming to the session. Kindly have a glance of the PPT what I'm sharing the day before. Usually, I'll be sharing in Thursday or Fridays for Saturday session. So please have a look on it, and then assure you that everyone is getting a proper understanding of topic of discussion. So in today's discussion, if there is going to be any query, you can come up, or else we can close the meet. Any doubts on this? Hope so. We can close the meeting. Then, if any query, if it is could not be asked in meeting, you can ping me in WhatsApp. My WhatsApp number is there in the community group. For any notes access or any kind of inputs access towards the subject, you can approach me. Thank you. Thanks for the day. Thank you, everyone.